Hello, I'm Debbie Adebayo, and the purpose of this video is to give you a brief overview of Sexual Purity Month. For the last decade, Singles Pleasing the Lord, actually longer than that, over a decade, Singles Pleasing the Lord has declared June Sexual Purity Month. And the purpose of this is to put an emphasis on living sexually pure. We define sexual purity as freedom from sexual immorality in thought, word, and deed. And we believe it is vitally important that we put an emphasis on this particular topic because the enemy is being very destructive in this area, both inside the church and outside the church. People are bound up by sensuality and sexual sin. And we know that that's not the will of God. First Thessalonians, the 4th chapter, the 3rd through the 5th verse clearly emphasizes that it is the will of the Lord that God's people and everybody live free from sexual sin. But the enemy has strategically came in and is really, at this point, I would say, winning the war on sexual purity, because we see all over the place God's people and clearly people outside the world caving in to sexual sin. People are bound by pornography. People are involved in adultery and infidelity inside what should be an undefiled marriage bed. Single adults are not able to participate in sanctified dating and relationship building. And many times their relationships end up in compromising sexual sin, which is not the will of God. And in fact, people have suppressed the will of God and made it seem as it is irrelevant, it is outdated. But those of us that know Jesus Christ know that sexual purity is not outdated and never will be outdated. And so our purpose for highlighting sexual purity is we want to highlight God's will. We want to put an emphasis on God's will. We don't want God's will destroyed. We want people, as God does, to live sexually pure. This is not a time to bash or to bring condemnation or to judge people that may be currently involved in sexual sin, but this is a time to highlight biblical truth and make people aware that God still requires us to live sexually pure. But not only does God require us to live sexually pure, God gives us the power to live sexually pure. We want to teach people how to tap into the same power that raised Jesus Christ from the dead. It's called resurrection power, and teach how to ignite that power so that we can begin to live as God ordained us to live. And that's sexually pure, free from sexual immorality in thought, word, and deed. We recognize that sexual purity is the foundation of sexual immorality, is the foundation of many of the ills that are in our community right now that we're struggling to get a handle on. If we would begin to live sexually pure, we would find out that many of those ills could be addressed quite effectively. Fatherlessness, single parent homes, and poverty, and crime, and so much. If you trace it back to its root, you will find out that if people just did what Jesus told them to do, live sexually pure, we wouldn't be having to address these issues as significantly as we do now. We use this time to bring a message of deliverance to those that are bound and are tired of sexual sin, bound by pornography, addicted to masturbation. We bring a message of deliverance and hope. For those that are ignorant of biblical truth, we bring revelational truth that will renew their mind and give them a passion for purity. And for those that are walking it out, and maybe you just got tired of walking it out, and you need to be encouraged, you need to be uplifted. This is a time of encouragement. So you're going to find conviction, you're going to find encouragement, you're going to find correction, you're going to find exhortation, all during the month of sexual purity. Now, obviously, the pandemic keeps us from doing some of the events that we normally do in person. But you know what? Even though we aren't in person, the power of God is still the same, and we believe that it's going to be made available. So, yes, all of our posts during the month of sexual purity are going to be about sexual purity. I know many times people get tired of that and they say, well, don't you all post about anything other than sexual purity? Not during the month of June. All you're going to hear from us is about sexual purity. So get ready for that. All of our posts, we're going to have a symposium. We're going to have times of prayer. All of our live stream teachings to our private Facebook group are going to center on sexual purity. You know, the devil every single day is beating up on God's people. And so clearly 1 month, we focus on it all the time, but 1 month we strategically highlighted, we ought to be able to do that. The devil is beating us up every day in this area, but we're going to take back what the enemy has stolen from us. And for those of you that want to do the right thing, there is help and support. So get ready, as today, June 1st, we start Sexual Purity Month. God bless you.